Being known in the gaming world as a high skill ceiling, brutally competitive, fast-paced first-person shooter, Counter-Strike was all anyone in the esports community was talking about in the early 2000s. The game revolutionized how the now household genre, the tactical shooter, was played. The game's main format was a 1-16 win, 5v5 head-on battle, where two teams fight to attack and defend certain objectives on the map, buying weapons and utility and leveraging map control to win rounds.
Counter-terrorists win.
The year is 2001, and people are lining up in Dallas for the first ever Counter-Strike Major. Hosted by the Cyber Athlete Professional League and with a total prize pool of $150,000, the CPL Winter Championship would mark the start of a titan in the professional gaming industry. With 32 teams competing for the first place grand prize of $50,000 in a new car, there was plenty of competition. Among them, the now well-known organizations Ninjas in Pajamas or NIP, SK Gaming and Infamous, and some newer faces in the scene like Deadly Riot, Elite Underground, and Deep Six. After some hard-fought matches, the final bracket consisted of NIP and Extreme 3, with NIP taking home the $50,000 in a brand new car. Come 2 years and another major later, Counter-Strike 1.6 fully released, after which the Electronic Sports World Cup hosted the annual Counter-Strike majors, with the CPL hosting the biannual events in the interim. The following year, in 2004, the next Counter-Strike was released, Counter-Strike Source. This saw a divide in the Counter-Strike professional community, as the sponsors and new teams wanted to capture the game's popularity, but the more seasoned players and teams criticized Source's, quote, significantly lower skill ceiling.
Green, what's your problem, Green? What is your problem? Missile alone ramp.
While tournaments and majors still proceeded through to 2010, this caused the community to separate into each game, and the popularity of Counter-Strike's professional scene would slowly fade. Over 7 years later, in 2012, Valve, the company behind Counter-Strike, would release the beta for their 4th installment of the Counter-Strike franchise, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or more better known as CSGO. Players would start flocking to download the game, reuniting the professional Counter-Strike community and creating a new era of esports broadcasting for the Counter-Strike franchise and its players. Although the game would follow in its own footsteps, with players criticizing the game for countless bugs, imbalanced gameplay, and poor mechanics, after a few months of consistent updates and fixes, the game was esports ready. And with the birth of early streaming platforms such as Justin TV, Ustream, and Twitch, the game would skyrocket in popularity. September 16th, 2013 would mark the first ever Valve-sponsored major, DreamHack Summer. With a community-funded $250,000 prize pool, and being broadcasted from Jönköping, Sweden, to over 90,000 concurrent viewers. The tournament was ultimately won by the home team, Fnatic, and its players, Flusha, JW, better known as Wonderchild, and Pronax. From now on, the most prestigious titles would come from the Valve-sponsored majors. The players and teams would accept huge sponsorships with companies, and the players would get their own marketable stickers in-game. The winners of any Valve-sponsored majors would go on to be some of the greatest of all time, marking their place in Counter-Strike's rich competitive history. Counter-Strike would continue to rise in popularity as more teams and organizations would join the competitive scene. Valve continued to update the game, with one update adding an open qualifier for every Valve-sponsored major. This meant that anyone who had CSGO could make a team and compete for the title, sparking miracle runs where random teams from across the world would get incredibly close to making the playoffs. Counter-Strike is still one of the most popular esports today, setting viewer count records even as recent as 2023. And with CS2, the fifth installment in the Counter-Strike franchise, the game is expected to continue to rise, sparking an exciting future for gamers and fans alike.